The first thing I felt was the cold. Not the ordinary kind. The bite of wind. The sting of frost on skin you can still call your own. This was deeper, something that had crept into my bones while I was unconscious, and settled there like it had no intention of leaving. I couldn't feel my fingers. I couldn't feel my toes. I couldn't feel anything except a slow, creeping certainty that I was already dead, and hadn't been told yet. If I'm dead, why does it still hurt this much? I opened my eyes. Snow. In every direction. A white sky pressing down on a white ground. The horizon dissolved into one long, indifferent blur. I was on my back, staring up at nothing, and for a long moment I couldn't remember how I'd gotten there. Then the memories came back in pieces, each one sharper than the last. The barracks at dawn. Shouted orders. The forced march north through a blizzard that shouldn't have been possible this late in the season. Shapes rising out of the white like the snow itself had decided to hate us, screaming so much of it that after a while it had stopped sounding human. I am Dorian Croft, 20 years old, son of a local baron. I was sent north with the king's army to stop the yearly invasion of monsters. I was pulled into a war against things that hadn't existed in anyone's grandfather's time. 10 months in, and I'd told myself I was getting good at staying alive. That was the kind of lie a man believed right up, until it stopped being true. It stopped being true at Frosthold. I remembered the shield line buckling, my sergeant's voice cut off mid-order, and a wolf beast coming through the gap before I'd finished raising my sword. I remembered the claws opening my chest before the cold could even register as pain, the taste of copper flooding my mouth, the white sky tipping sideways as my legs quit under me. I remembered, absurdly, thinking of my mother's garden in the half-second before the world went out like a snuffed lamp. And then nothing, just dark, and now this. I tried to move. My body answered with a full-body scream of protest, every joint locked, every muscle stiff as old rope. I rolled onto my side, planted hands that didn't look like mine anymore against the snow, and hauled myself upright by main stubbornness. The world tilted. I waited it out. When it settled, I almost wished it hadn't. They were everywhere, knights, scattered across the white like something had picked them up and dropped them at random. People I'd shared rations with, watched the dark with. Now, they lay stiff and wrong, their faces caught in expressions I made myself not look at too closely. The things that had killed them lay dead beside them, wolf-shaped, too large, claws long enough to open a man like a letter. I didn't know the species. It didn't matter. What mattered was that I was the only one still breathing in a field of people who weren't, and I didn't know why. I tried to stand. My legs folded. I went down hard into the snow, and the world swam. Then I heard it. Not a sound, a presence, vast and utterly indifferent, settling into the back of my skull. It had always been there, and I was only now noticing. Text bled into view against the white, glowing faint blue, formatted with a precision that felt almost cruel in how little it cared what I was going through. System initialization complete. Subject, Dorian Croft. Status, bound. Classification, unranked. Awaken existent, none recorded. I stared, blinked. The words held their ground. I'm hallucinating. Cold and blood loss. My mind's finally giving out. This is not a hallucination. No elaboration. No reassurance. Just the flat correction and then silence. Like the matter was already closed. Why me? My voice came out as a scrape. Barely a voice at all. Query denied. Insufficient authorization. That was it. No explanation, no apology for withholding one. Whatever this thing was, it didn't owe me an answer, and clearly knew it. Fine. I said it to the empty air, to the snow, to whatever was listening from inside my own skull. Then help me. The system chimed again with a notification. Objective, survive, reward, continued existence. The system didn't answer that either. It didn't argue, didn't concede the point, didn't so much as acknowledge I'd spoken. It simply updated. The system chimed again with a notification. Health, 12 time to irreversible hypothermia, 30 minutes action required, move. That got through where sarcasm hadn't. I forced myself to my knees, then my feet, bracing against the nearest body to keep from going back down a woman whose name I should have known and didn't. though we'd shared a fire 3 nights ago. I'm sorry, I thought, and didn't examine too closely who the apology was for. I'm sorry I can't remember your name. I'm sorry you're dead. I'm sorry I'm not. I pushed off and started walking. The snow came up past my knees in places. Every step cost something the last one hadn't. Somewhere under the exhaustion, a small persistent voice kept suggesting I lie down. Just for a minute. Just to rest my eyes, and I recognized it, distantly, as the specific lie the cold tells you right before it kills you. I didn't listen. Listening meant becoming one more shape in the snow behind me. The system chimed again with a notification. Shelter located, 200 meters. I looked up. A fold in the rock face. A shallow black mouth of a cave that would at least cut the wind. 200 meters. It might as well have been the whole 843 miles home. I aimed myself at it and didn't look anywhere else. The cold had stopped hurting somewhere in the last 100 meters, which I understood with the clinical detachment of a man watching himself from a distance was a very bad sign. Numbness is the body's last kindness before it stops trying. I went down at the entrance, legs finally done negotiating. The snow there was packed soft by wind drift. I crawled the last stretch on hands that had stopped reporting sensation and collapsed against the stone inside. The system chimed again with a notification. Shelter reached. Next objective, sustenance. Food. Water. I had neither. Nothing since a thin bowl of gruel the morning of the battle, which felt like it belonged to a different lifetime. I searched the cave with eyes that kept losing focus at the edges. Stone, snow, wind keening at the entrance like something hungry that hadn't decided yet whether I counted as prey. Then I thought of the bodies, and my stomach turned before the rest of me had finished the thought. There's nothing here, I said, mostly to hear a voice that wasn't the cold. You could just give me something, anything. The system chimed again with a notification. Insufficient authorization, sustenance must be acquired. Same non-answer as before, dressed in different words. I was starting to understand there wasn't a version of this thing that negotiated. I didn't want to go back out there. Didn't want to put my hands in dead men's pockets. But hunger doesn't negotiate either, and thirst negotiates even less. So I forced myself back into the snow. The first body was a man. I'd never really spoken to, just the nod knights give each other when neither expects to see tomorrow. His pockets held a heel of bread frozen to stone, and a water skin split down the seam, its contents already lost to the snow. The system chimed again with a notification. Inventory unlocked. Item acquired. Moldy bread, 1 store item. Why? And no fanfare. No comment on what I'd just done to get it. I stared at the prompt inventory and selected yes. The bread dissolved into a fold of blue light I could somehow still feel, waiting. I moved to the next body, then the next. Each search was its own small violence. Faces I made myself not study, hands still curled around weapons that hadn't done them any good. I kept going anyway, because every item was one more day between me and joining them. The system chimed again with a notification. Acquired. Rusted short sword acquired. Leather vest damaged acquired. Dried meat 2 acquired. Water skin half full. By the time I stopped, I had enough to last a few days if I was careful. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how far the nearest living voice might be. I didn't know if there was anyone left worth finding. I dragged myself back to the cave and let the wall take my weight. The system chimed again with a notification. Objective complete. Generating map. A map bloomed into view. Simple as something sketched on parchment, and there was Frosthold, the fortress we'd been marching toward when the world ended. And south of it a thin road curling through Thornwick, then Redhaven, then further still, to a name that hit harder than I expected. Home. I stared at that word for longer than I meant to. It felt like it belonged to someone I used to be. But it came with a shape attached, a house on the edge of the village. My mother on her knees in the garden with dirt under her nails, humming something off-key that she never got right, and never cared that she didn't. The last thing she'd said to me, hands cold around mine at the door, was that she'd keep the lamp lit until I was back to blow it out myself. I didn't know if that lamp was still burning. I didn't know if she was. But not knowing was worse than any answer I might find. I'd rather walk into the truth than sit still and let the question rot. The system chimed again with a notification. Main quest generated. Return home a distance. 843 miles. Time limit, 30 days. Error. Failure. Deletion of consciousness permanent. 30 days. 843 miles. Nearly 30 a day. Through country that had already proven what it did to people who tried to cross it, armed with the rusted sword and whatever was left of my nerve. Impossible. You could give me more time, I said. A month isn't nothing. No justification, no negotiation, no acknowledgement that I'd made an argument at all. Just the door closing. I stopped asking. I understood, somewhere under the anger, that I wasn't going to get anything out of this thing hadn't already decided to give me. I ate a strip of the dried meat, tough, oversalted, the best thing I'd tasted in days for no reason but that I was alive to taste it, drank what remained of the water, and stepped back out into the snow. The dead stayed behind me, frozen and already starting to be forgotten by a world that hadn't paused to notice they were gone. But I was moving, and for the first time since I'd opened my eyes, that felt like something I'd chosen rather than something the cold had forced out of me. I walked for 3 days. The system tracked all of it: health, hunger, distance. That was as close as it came to caring. A performance metric. I hated it exactly as much as I was grateful for it. Somewhere on the second day, with nothing but white ground and my own thoughts for company, it occurred to me to ask for more than orders. Show me everything you've told me. All of it. System log display all past notifications? I said yes. And every message since the moment I'd opened my eyes and the snow scrolled past in the same flat, indifferent order it had first appeared in. Deletion of consciousness. He read through it twice before the pattern caught up with me. It never told me anything before I'd already worked it out. The recommendation to move had come only after the cold had already gone past hurting into numbness, after my own body had started making the case for me. The shelter had appeared on the map only once I was already close enough to see the rock fold with my own eyes. Even the warning about hypothermia had arrived precisely at the point where I'd have known something was badly wrong regardless whether the system had said a word or not. And scattered through the log were answers that were true without being complete: a reward flag before a quest, gold totaled without a source, where an explanation should have been offered, like the system had decided in advance how much of the truth I was allowed to have. It hadn't lied to me once, I was almost sure of that, but I was starting to understand that it never gave me anything it didn't already have to. By the third evening reached the tree line that marked the edge of the frosthold region. The trees stood black against the snow, branches bare as old bone, the wind threading through them with a sound uncomfortably close to breathing. The system chimed again with a notification. Distance, 65 843rds me zone classification, hostile threat level, elevated. I didn't need to be told. I'd felt it for the last mile, that crawling certainty at the back of the neck. That means something is watching and hasn't decided yet whether to announce itself. They came at dusk, 3 of them, the same wolf shape that had gutted my unit, moving out of the trees with a silence that had no business belonging to something that size. Yellow eyes, fixed on me with the patient hunger of things that already know their prey is wounded. The system chimed again with a notification. Enemies detected. F rank snow wolf 3 threat assessment. Unfavorable advisory: flee. Flee where? Into trees that might be hiding more of them. Back the way I'd come, toward more snow and more bodies, and nothing waiting at the end of it. No, I said, out loud, mostly for myself. The system didn't try to talk me out of it. It didn't warn me twice. It simply stopped offering advisories and started logging. I raised the sword. Come find out then. The first wolf lunged. I sidestepped and swung the rusted edge, caught fur more than flesh, a shallow wound that made the wolf yelp and peel off rather than press. No time to feel good about it. The second one was already coming from the left, and the third hit me from behind before I'd finished turning. Teeth closed on my shoulder. The pain was immediate and total, a white flash that swallowed thought. I screamed and drove my elbow back into something solid. The pressure released, and I spun to find both remaining wolves circling, wary now, tasting blood that wasn't theirs. The system chimed again with a notification. Health, 53100 status, bleeding. No recommendation this time. No advice at all. Just the number, dropping, indifferent to whether I understood what it meant for me. I understood anyway. If I ran now, I'd spend the rest of whatever life I had left running from things I could have stood and faced. That wasn't a life. That was just a longer version of lying down in the snow. The nearer wolf lunged again. This time I dropped low, let its own momentum carry it over me, and drove the sword up into its belly as it passed. It hit the snow with a sound that wasn't quite a scream, and didn't get up. The system chimed again with a notification. Enemy defeated. F rank snow wolf exp plus 15 to left. I watched them look at their fallen packmate, then at me, some silent animal calculus running behind their eyes. The second one came in fast and low. I met it head on. My blade found its throat at the same moment its claws found my chest, tearing through the leather vest like it was nothing at all. Heat spread down my stomach where my skin should have been whole. I didn't stop, couldn't afford to. I pushed the blade deeper, until the wolf's eyes went wide and empty, and it folded into the snow. The system chimed again with a notification. Enemy defeated. F rank snow wolf exp 15. The third had already made its decision. It turned and bolted back into the trees, tail low, leaving its dead behind without a backward glance. I let it go. I didn't have the legs left to argue with it. I went down to my knees. The world tipped sideways and stayed there. My shoulder was a ruin. My chest was open in 3 places, blood running hot despite the cold. The system chimed again with a notification. Health, 21100 status, critical. No instruction, no urgency in the phrasing at all, as if my death and my survival were equally acceptable data points to record. I understood, in that moment, exactly what the system actually was. Not a guardian, not a guide, a ledger that happened to be keeping score of whether I lived. I had no bandages left, used the last of them the first night, but I had gold, thin as my supply of it was. And I had the shop. I quickly opened the shop and purchased a healing potion. The system chimed again with a notification. Purchase confirmed. Minor healing potion 15 gold. A small glass vial materialized in my palm, its contents glowing faint red in the dying light. I broke the seal and drank it in one motion, half afraid it wouldn't work, half afraid of what it would cost if it did. The wounds on my chest began knitting shut, threads of heat pulling flesh back together. The bite on my shoulder stopped its slow, steady bleed. The pain dulled from a scream to something closer to memory. Health, 67100 status, stable. I sat in the snow and stared at the 2 dead wolves, my sword still buried in the second one's throat. I pulled it free and watched the blood run black against white. I'd killed them, both of them. I was still here to know it. And the thing in my head that had watched me almost die hadn't so much as flinched about it either way. I got up anyway. The system flagged the carcasses as harvestable. I took what it told me to and started walking again, into a night that had no intention of getting warmer. The system chimed again with a notification. Tutorial complete. Reward, plus 100 XP 1 skill point 10 gold. Tutorial complete. You have demonstrated the core principles of survival. Reward, 100 exp, 1 skill point, 10 gold. Level up, 3 new skill unlocked. Basic swordsmanship, Levi, 1 exp, skill point. I hadn't asked, but the system answered anyway, the way it did everything unprompted, and without wasting a word on comfort. System note, experience points exp accumulate toward level progression. Each level increase provides stat enhancements, new skill unlocks, and expanded system access. Skill points be awarded at certain level intervals, can be allocated to unlock or improve specific abilities. The system recommends careful consideration before allocation. I had exactly 1 point and 1 skill to spend it on. It wasn't a choice so much as a formality, so I clicked yes for the skill upgrade. Immediately the system chimed. Skill upgrade. Basic swordsmanship, Levi, 1 Levi, 2 skill upgraded. I walked through the dark on whatever the healing potion had left behind, the system marking safe ground and flagging danger like a lantern I hadn't asked for, but couldn't do without. By the time the sun came up, gray and reluctant, over the tree line, I was clear of the forest, standing at the edge of a plain so flat and white, it looked like the world hadn't finished being made yet. The map held steady in my vision. Thornwick was 2 days south. Redhaven. Beyond it, and past Redhaven, a lamp that might or might not still be lit. I tried not to think about who might still be there to tend it. I tightened my grip on the sword and started walking. I'm coming, I said, to the wind, to the plain, to whatever might still be listening on the other end of 800 miles. I'm coming home. The system didn't answer. It never did, unless I gave it something to log. I was starting to understand. That was the whole relationship.